G'day and welcome to another video. Today we are going to cut down a blind we bought from Spotlight. They come in standard sizes. They don't fit your window. You can cut them down and make it look like it's always been that size. We don't need many tools to do this. No power tools if you want to go that way. First, you're going to need a tape measure to measure everything. You need something to mark up your blind, pencil or a texter, a really nice sharp Stanley knife. As I always say, life's too short for blunt blades. Safety gear, specs and earmuffs if you're going to go the power tool route. And this blind is made up of material, and then there's aluminium. There's a tube through here that's aluminium, and then there's the base rail that's aluminium. To cut that, you can either do it with a hacksaw, a grinder, or in my case, I'm going to use the drop saw because it leaves the neatest cut and it's the quickest and easiest. You'll also need a straight edge to cut the actual blind, the fabric part of it. Now, to do that, you can get anything straight. You can use a level, you can use, in my case, a piece of extruded aluminium that's nice and straight. You could use a piece of timber that's straight, you could use a bit of ply, anything that's got a really nice straight edge on it that you can run your knife on. So what we want is to find out how big our blind wants to be. In our case, it wants to be 1670. And then we want to work out how long our blind actually is to work out how much we need to take off it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our blind together. So we put the end pieces on and then we measure from there to the other end. We make sure that little thing's pushed in. We measure that. Now that measures 1900. Like I said, we want our blind to be 1670. So to get our blind to be the right size, we need to take 230 mil off everything. That's the fabric, 230 mil, the center tube, 230 mil, and the base rail, 230 mil. Okay, so I'm going to mark the aluminium first. I'm going to cut that on the drop saw, and then I'm going to cut the fabric with my straight edge and Stanley knife. We're going to pick the side we're going to cut off. So I'll measure across here, 230 mil, put a little mark there. So to cut the tube, you need to pull everything apart, take everything out, make sure you don't cut that. And then this aluminium tube will just slide out. So just pull it out as far as you need to cut it and a little bit more to make sure it's not going to foul on the drop saw base. You don't really want to get any swarf, which is the offcuts of something that you cut. It's a new word for you maybe, into your blind. So we'll measure 230 on that. There we go. Now we're going to take it over to the drop saw and cut it. All right, whenever you're cutting aluminium, whenever you're cutting anything, you should wear specs, but especially when you're cutting aluminium because little bits of our metal swarf will just go everywhere. Specs, earmuffs, line it up there, make sure our blade's going to hit the right spot. Now, when you're cutting aluminium with a drop saw, you want to go a little bit slower than you go with timber because you don't want the blade to catch in that aluminium, so you just take it a bit slower. Ready to go. So to slide along the bottom rail, I have to pull off this little end cap to make sure that I can slide that rail along. Each one might be slightly different, but I'm sure you'll work it out. Rightio, nice and straight against that fence. Line her up, 230 mil. Okay, so now is the trickier of the two things to cut, which is the material. So all we want to do is measure across at the bottom, mark 230, and I'm going to measure across at the top, and mark 230, and that's it. Just the top and bottom mark. I'll get my straight edge. Really is very helpful to have a straight edge that is long enough. If you've got clamps, it really does make it a lot easier. If you haven't got clamps, maybe get a mate to help you. I've got no mates, so I'm going to do it by myself. So we're clamped on our line, We know this is nice and straight. All we're going to do now is run our nice sharp blade really straight all the way along that straight edge, and that's it. Simple as that. Ready? Bit of pressure. It's not that hard to cut. Now you don't want to pull the fabric, otherwise you'll stretch it and you won't make this straight, you'll make it curved. Keeping a bit of pressure down on the straight edge to make sure it doesn't move. And we're done. And if you look along that, that's gun barrel straight. Beautiful result. Now we roll this up. It's not too important to get this perfect right now, because when you install the blind, you unroll it and re-roll it a couple of times and she sorts herself out. Sometimes you might have to make some little tweaks. This has got a little rubber dampener on the bottom here, and it'll stretch and whatnot. So now it's ended up being too long after we cut it with the drop saw. So we'll just pull it out and just cut it with our knife. And just to prove that everything works, we'll put it all back together and check our measurement. There we go. Get this bit. 1670. Spot on. Time to install.